Welcome to the channel where all you gotta do is take the supercharger off this Mustang so we can sell it to some unsuspecting fool. No, actually it's a really good car. Just old, and these blowers were worth more than the car, so I found a stock intake manifold and popped this thing off because the Bronco is going to have that same blower on it. And this one's actually got a 5th gen blower and that one's got a 3rd gen that's on it right now. So I want this 5th gen blower because it's better. So I'm going to pop this thing apart and clean it up a little bit and put the stock manifold back on. And then smog it and sell it to somebody. I think it was last registered in 2017. 2019. And Luke's gonna help. Remember Luke? From the Subaru fixin'? Yeah, she's gonna... My doggy's down there waiting for my wife to get home somewhere. I think you can see her down there. Yeah, there she is. Where's Mommy? So, first thing you gotta do when you're taking a car apart is to disconnect this guy. And it turns out this is broken, so no tools required. So, let's just get all this junk out of the way. And then all the cleaning up. Now I'm going to have another big giant pile of parts. And leaves and things. It's like this has been on here a long time. Probably like 20 years, huh?
Pop off, is that a ball? Just pop it?
That side's that way.
This way?
Side's that way. You got it. Throttle cable disassembled.
This guy.
What?
Why is it full of plastic bits?
Oh, that's so it doesn't
Tangle up some.
tangle and stuff, yeah. It's like an anti-scoliosis thing. I guess I could open the trunk up and put all these parts in the trunk. Of course, there's a stock engine manifold in the trunk, so there's... I'll just pile them over here on the floor because I got all this room now.
You got some ray eggs for the fuel? You had some ray eggs in there. This is just a shredder valve, right?
Yeah.
Poke it and all the juice comes out?
Yeah, here's a poker.
Okay. Electrical poker.
Yeah. It won't know. We won't tell it and it won't know.
Yeah, I feel we need this in detail. Oh.
No. Picture of your back's pretty good.
No, nothing there.
Oh. Well, that's probably not great. Disconnect all the injector pluggers and we'll have to pull the coils out. I'm gonna put this in the middle because it seems like what's the word? I'm obscuring the view otherwise. There.
Nice. We want these.
Yes.
Ready?
Yes and yes. Sounds like a race car, huh? Or somebody's pulling a catalytic converter.
So is this part of the video going to be...
I never decide until it's, you know.
In my book.
That's one of the Achilles heels of the 4.6, especially in the Mustang, is when it rains. It drips past this seat, not so seal, and it fills up the number 4 and number 8 spark plug holes. And so you're firing into a wet hole.
That's exactly like the explosion. Is this staying with the... I disconnected it, is it staying with
That stays with you.
So I leave this hose on? Is
Well,
that a stock fuel rail?
this one goes to the booster pump. So you need to disconnect this because this one goes down.
And this will just come up?
Yeah, that comes off of that. This one just goes to the boost. But that activates the... It's basically a DC to DC converter. It takes 14 volts and makes it 18 volts.
But with that?
Well, there's a pressure switch that activates it, so it's not running. It's not overheating your fuel pump 100% of the time. It's just when it gets under boost, it goes. Give me more. I didn't invent it. I just utilize it.
It's a DC 18 volt pump.
What's that?
A DC 18 volt pump.
Well, yeah, the stock pump is a returnless pump, so it's like a variable speed pump, and it has a fuel pressure regulator here.
And that just turns it off.
But the pump can't, with 14 volts, the pump can't keep up with this. The fuel flow is too high with the supercharger, so you have to like increase the voltage or replace the pump. You could do either one. Put a bigger pump
Where
in.
do you get 18 volts from?
There's a little box in the trunk called a Kenny Bell booster pump, and it takes 12 volts and uses the DC to DC inverter to step it up. Didn't I already go over all this? I think I did.
It's been a video that I haven't watched.
It's probably in the video you haven't watched, yes.
I tend to watch them all.
Yeah, some of them are boring, so I get it. Millimeters. Perfection.
What's this little guy? What's that guy?
Oh, that's like the ground strap.
This is a billet. Pull it off?
Yeah, it's well.
Okay.
And these little phenolic spacers are so the intake manifold, which is hot, doesn't heat up the fuel.
Oh, that's plastic, is it?
It's actually because the people that made the extrusion for our fuel rails, they wouldn't use our drawing, so they kept like making their own drawing out of our drawing, and they kept screwing it up. And they'd send it to us and go, "Oh, about this, sign this off, that's right. Nope, it's not right. Here's what's wrong." And after like the 15th iteration of that, anyway, I signed it off and then it was wrong. And when we got it, and we were like that. And it's like, well, I signed the thing that said they were right. So we put phenolic spacers in there and made believe it's to cool the charge of the fuel charge. It's not really. It's because we effed up.
They're all discombobulated here. Should I take the rail off?
No, that can stay with the blower.
And all down on this side, apart from these hoses. Plug them here? Or the other end? Where does this come off?
No, that can stay with the blower as well.
Pull these two?
No, that can stay.
Where do they go? Just barely there.
It goes to the back of this.
Okay, so that'll come with it. Apart from it's looped around this, so I might have to break it anyway.
Yeah, I can't
Let me
remember.
pull this plug.
Can't remember where this one goes.
Let me pull this guy. And this one goes in there. Okay.
I think this goes to the. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's all in the instructions. You can get them on mine still.
You need a catch tank for the coolant.
Yes. pounds. So this probably weighs 50. It's heavy. There might be some hoses on the back that we haven't disconnected.
Can we shift it forward, or will it bust up a gasketed face?
No, we can lift it up and set it like on top of here kind of thing, and shouldn't be too bad.
More water?
Yeah, probably water in there.
There's still a dolphin back here. Did you need to go in there?
Yeah. I think it's this one. Oh!
It's pretty close to the pile.
Yeah, sure. Hang on. You didn't disconnect the coolant temperature sensor. You didn't. I didn't either. Neither of us.
To work this guy.
This is
These things that went wrong with you.
neither of us removed this. It was right here in front of our nose. Ta-da. Okay, so we got these hoses here.
I'm sure they do something.
This one goes to the evap canister, I believe, so that's just vacuum. And this one goes to something else, and I don't remember. And this PCV is all tangled up, so that's fine. Oh yeah, maybe this water hose. Yeah. Like that.
1, 2, 3.
It's not that heavy, it's just really awkward.
I'll show them the underneath of it.
Sure, put it on the floor first. Oh wow, there's a lot of testing material in
Look
there.
how light it is.
Alright, so in case you didn't see what Luke was talking about, you said you vacuumed everything. What is all, you missed all this? Oh, it looks like they've been eating something too. What's all that green stuff?
Is that your license and registration?
It could be.
Peanuts? Acorns?
At least the guy that bypassed the heater put stainless steel there and brass. So that was nice, that guy. Anyway, this is the first blower. I don't know if you can see it. It says Allen right there. Allen. Upside down. Allen. And since this is the very first one, it's not painted, and I machined this one on my VF0 because it was like one of the first ones. Anyway, that's it. If you've never seen an Allen Supercharger up close and personal, that would have been a water leak though.
Yeah.
You don't see what I'm talking about. That right there.
It'll corrode itself shut in a couple of years.
Get that. See, that's not right. I don't see any major issues with sealing on the ports though. Oh, here we go. This one's kind of delaminating over here. Anyway, fun fact about these gaskets are made to seal an intake manifold with the fuel injector literally right here. But if you spill fuel on them, the over-molded rubber decomposes. So that was a genius engineering solution. Okay, so this is the manifold that I bought used to replace the supercharger manifold. And I've stolen all the pieces off of the supercharger manifold. This is the fuel pressure sensor. This is the EGR solenoid thingy. I managed to find a throttle cable bracket because that gets discarded when you put the blower on, but somehow I had one laying around. Along with this bracket, which I think goes right there, and then it bolts into the back of the head. and I believe this mounts the pressure transducer for the EGR tube. There's like a little orifice in there, and this measures the delta P. And then on the other side, between here and here, this solenoid goes on there. So that, and then I got the EGR mounted up. Anyway, and then fuel rails. These are really expensive for some reason. I don't know why. People are getting like $150 to $200 for these fuel rails, which we just threw away back in the day because, you know, I've replaced them with billet stuff. So anyway, that came with this manifold. I think I paid $80 for this manifold and this thing and throttle body and the fuel rails. So that was, I think, a good deal. I don't know. And then these are the injectors I pulled out of the Supercharger kit. So I'm going to clean these up externally, and then I'll run them across my injector tester just to make sure there's no, I mean, they were on the car and working, so they should be, but we'll get them cleaned up and flowed just to make sure they're good. And one of the little things I don't really understand, that, you know, like all these, like the fuel rails are held on with bolts that are just threading into plastic. Which this guy here isn't. This guy here has like brass inserts, but like over here, little stabilizer stuff. It's like they're just threading into plastic with a regular old M6 bolt. So that's kind of scary, but whatever. 135. What is that? That is not the firing order. This is 5. This is 6. This is 7. This is 8. They label it like it's a Chevy or something? Maybe that has nothing to do with it. This one's marked 8. I don't know. And this one's marked 7. Yeah, I think somebody's confused. Made in USA, so there you go. So I also got, I think I have some, I'm not sure why this has 2 temperature sensors for the coolant. The early Mustangs, like a 94 through 96, I think, had 2. One for the gauge on the instrument panel and another one for the ECU, but then later some genius at Ford figured out, oh, we can just use one and steal the signal for both. So all those years they made 200,000 Mustangs and an extra sensor on there for no reason. Anyway, they figured it out eventually. Okay, so I replaced the number 1 position and the number 6 position with 7 and 8. So, and that one's a little bit higher. It's like 60, you know, it's 56. So the only outlier is actually this this number 7 injector. But anyway, I think this is fine. It's gonna work. Not a race car. Going back to normally aspirated anyway. And one thing that I probably should mention is when you take these injectors out, disconnect the hoses first. Electrical hoses, that is. Otherwise, they tip over and fall into the vat of fluid and makes them a yucky mess. Done a little bit of work on this in the front shop, replacing the injectors and putting fuel rails on, throttle body and stuff like that, EGR giblets. But one of the things that I needed to order is this EGR tube. And this is like, I don't know how, this is like $20. I don't know how they make that for $20, but so that took a while to get here. I also got a radiator hose because the original one was cut to make it line up. And I got a new drive belt that's, I don't know, 15 inches shorter or whatever, because no supercharger. So this thing bolts to the exhaust manifold down, kind of sits on the car, you know, like that. So you don't see much going on down there. I'll try to grab the camera down so you can see this one. But basically what I did, I don't have a 27mm socket, so I got this wrench, crescent wrench, and I put the crescent wrench on here, I lined it up the right size, and I put a piece of duct tape on it. There's nothing more annoying than you're like fiddling around in there and you bump the little adjuster and it won't fit on. Anyway, so I just put a piece of duct tape on there. You could use painter's tape or masking tape, electrical tape, super glue, hot glue gun, whatever, just to keep that thing from rotating so it stays the same size. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough room in there to articulate. And as a matter of fact, when all the Rev 2 kits you're required to, you know, well, all the Supercharger kits I guess that we made, this is a real pain in the ass, pain in the you know what to get off. So what we did was we just, I think we shipped a little, I think it was like a $5, it's like a tubing cutter. You just clamp it on there and go around and around and around, and it cuts this off for you in the right spot. And then you just use compression fittings with a floppy line to go to your original one. So that was our solution instead of making a whole new one of these. Now this one doesn't have that because this is our prototype car. This is what we designed the kit around. So we just took this off and then I bent stainless steel tube and welded it up and whatever, but it quickly became obvious that that was not a good production solution. So we actually just used the stainless steel lines that go to like a water heater. We got them from McMaster Car, I don't know, they're 10 bucks or something. So I think it was like a $5 little, I'll see if I can put one up in the corner here. I don't know which corner I'm going to put it in, but yeah, and you just clamp it around there. And it's made for cutting copper, but it'll cut stainless steel, you know, a few times. It's not going to last a long time, but it's only got to cut one slice. I guess it's got to cut it here and here, and then you put the crimp connectors on there. So anyway, I'm going to crawl under the car. My redwood trees, well, they're not really mine. They're on my property. I don't own them. They're owned by the earth. They drop these little acorny things, and on a metal roof, it sounds like somebody's throwing rocks at you or firecrackers going off or something. So I apologize, but there's not a lot I can do about it. So I can see it super clear with my eyeballs. Anyway, I got the wrench on. Not sure I'm going to be able to loosen it up. Oh, give it a try. Alright, so trying to get this old EGR pipe off and futzing with it for, I don't know, an hour or so. And sometimes extreme measures are required. So there's a fitting that threads into the exhaust manifold, and then that seals up against this guy here. And I can't really get a wrench on the fitting, but I can get a wrench on this, so which is the wrong way to do it, of course, but there's no room in there because they're right up against each other and there's all kinds of other shit. So I tried turning this, hoping this would loosen from this, but you can hope in one hand and poop in the other. See which fills up first? Yeah. So I'm going to resort to this, which is I welded a Sawzall blade to a screwdriver that I found on the, rusty thing found on the property. So I'm going to get into there and, and I had to do a long one. I have one on a handle, but you can't get it in there. You can like move it like this. So anyway, this is my solution. Sometimes extreme measures are what it takes. I mean, I could just pull the complete exhaust system off, but it's like connected with an H pipe, so it's got to disconnect from the mufflers, and I think it's welded to the mufflers, so yeah, it just turns into a big, and I don't really need the EGR tube that I'm taking off, so, and if I did need it, I could theoretically I could weld it back together. Is what it is. Okay, I'm going in the belly of the beast. See if we can get a picture of what crazy stuff I'm doing. Okay. So it's probably not going to focus. But I think you can kind of see. It's hard to push on it like this, but anyway, like that. Saw a little, saw a little, saw a little. Alright, so I got this SOB out of here. Stupid old bolt, that's what that means. Anyway, the way I did it was I took this 1-inch wrench and I made it into a 27mm wrench. Because the problem was the crescent wrenches have a pretty big angle on here. And so you could get it on one way, but then when you could only turn it a little bit, and when you flipped it around the other way, you couldn't get it back on. So you have to speak. So anyway, I found an old junky wrench in the wine cellar, and I just ground on it to make it the right size. And that worked for, you know, getting it about, I don't know, maybe 5mm out, something like that. And then it was fairly loose, but I couldn't really turn it. So I tried to get a socket on there, and of course the socket would fit, but you couldn't get a 1/2-inch drive wrench on it. And when you put the adapter, it adds another 1/2 inch to it, and then it wouldn't fit. So I just took a piece of 1/8-inch steel, bent it into a 90°, and now I can just stick this on there. It doesn't spin straight, but I was able to, you know, get my fingers under there and go one click at a time, click, 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 way faster than, you know, moving this, flipping around, getting it back on. So this made it quick work. So anyway, things out there now. I'll take this up to the front shop and put this in a vise and loosen this guy up. Now that I have a 27mm wrench, probably can't use this side though. Push the little button. Yeah, so that looks like my original weld over there and over there. So anyway, yeah, the only thing this does, and you can kind of see right here, let me see it on the brand new one better. See that little crunch there? Maybe you can't. There's a little dimple there, but basically what they do is while this piece of tubing is still straight, they just jam a little restrictor in there and then swedge it and then bend the tube. So it's basically looking at the pressure difference between here and here. So this would be exhaust manifold pressure here, and this would be the pressure in the going to the EGR valve, and there should be a delta across this, and that's how it knows whether the valve is bad or this is bad, right? If something's bad, it'll, you know, throw a code. So anyway, this was all 50 state legal supercharger kits, so we had to keep that. Unlike, you know, people put headers on these things and they typically don't even have this. It's just, yeah, hope you don't live in California or any other of the 25 states that require emissions testing. Alright, so this thing really doesn't want to come apart, like really. So I've tried WD-40, I tried heating it up, WD-40. You can try it a couple more times here, but doesn't seem like it's going to come off. I'm going to have to get the grinder out, I think, or buy new this thing. So I'm trying to expand the nut by getting it hot. And then the piece that it's going into, I don't want that to expand. So I'll put that part in the vise and hopefully that'll cool it off and let it shrink a little bit. Yeah, it's very very much not wanting to come apart. So when I first took this thing off, the car had like 300 miles on it or something. So it was easy. But now it's got 150,000 on it, and yeah, go get it. Ooh, there we go. At first you don't succeed, force prevails. That's how it goes, I think. Alright, so I'll take this to the wire wheel and, you know, get all the schmutz off it. Otherwise I'm just going to fight this underneath the car. It doesn't just spin right on. So I'm going to save myself the trouble and clean this up offline and then go back and install it. Alright, so let me get my stupid face out of there so it doesn't try to focus on that. And see there, that's all galled up. That's why I didn't want to come off. So I'm just going to take a thread file to this. I don't know what thread pitch it is, but I'll figure that out. And then I'll get thread file and file that down until the mating piece, you know, threads on super easy. Because I'm gonna be laying on the ground trying to thread this on, like, so I wanted to just. Okay, so before I can use my thread file on it, and this is what a thread file looks like, just like the shape of the thread, but in file form. So there are these things called thread gauges. So this one's probably a little bit easier to focus on. I'll move my face out of the way. So you can see the little teeth on there. You just kind of hold it up to it, and the one that matches without like not lining up is the right one. Now if you don't have these, you can always just take a tap and hold it up to it like that. Kind of look at something. Don't look into the sun, but you can see that. I don't know if you can see it, but that doesn't line up. So it turns out this is a 1.5 millimeter thread pitch. I wasn't really sure whether it was an English or a metric, but so you just find your thread file, and right there it says 1.5, so that's what I'm going to file it with. Out of my way. 1.5. Okay, so. All right. Guess we gotta crawl into the stupid car and put it back on. Okay, so I'm gonna crawl under the belly of the beast, but got this guy cleaned up. Turns out it's the same thread on both sides, so I thread filed both of them. Those just thread on really nice. So I'm gonna go under the belly and thread this into the exhaust manifold with my fancy new adapter. Okay, so we got the manifold surfaces, the gasket surfaces all cleaned up, and I disconnected the radiator hose, drained all the coolant out of it, and I'm gonna throw the intake manifold on. There's a bunch of other little jibbly stuff that I gotta science out because all the pieces got, thrown in the dumpster when I put the blower on it. But I think I can set the manifold down and put the bolts in, torque those up. Oh, so the car's gonna handle better now, probably. So one thing you have to make sure when you're playing with one of these new fangled manifolds with no gaskets is you gotta make sure these pip seals, press in place seals, are all pressed in place. Because if they're not, it won't seal. And then you have to do it all over again. So these all look to be in good condition and pressed in place appropriately. And then the other thing you need to is this back needs to go under this wiring harness here. So let me just throw something under there as a spacer, just to kind of hold it up out of the way for temporary, So I'll put a roll of duct tape over here. I'll kind of hold it up right here. And then that should be fine. It's got the same thing on the other side, but it's a little bit farther forward because that's the forward bank, so that should be less of an issue. And the reason I'm doing that is I don't want to drop it down and then try to slide it too much on these pip seals because I don't want them to, fall off and stuff. So. Just like that. Easy as cake or pie. Those things. Oh, I see the problem. It's hitting my roll of duct tape. No good deed goes unpunished. All right. So you don't want to start cranking down on these things. You want to get them all started. Make sure it's, because nothing really lines it except for all these bolts. So all that gasket matching you've been doing. Yeah. Funny story about that. I'm going to clip this wiring harness off of its little snaps because this rear one is kind of come on, baby. I used a giant pry bar on that. Alright, so now this This harness can move back out of the way so I have bolt clearance. Those engineers, they only worry about having clearance to the things that are on there when it's built the first time. Every other poor sap's got to work on it. All the things are in the way. So you can tell the fuel rails were put on the intake manifold before the intake manifold was put on the car. Otherwise it wouldn't need this little notch out of here, and the engineers wouldn't care. The technicians got to worry about it then. My engineers are. Speaking as an engineer. Okay, so I got that manifold all torqued down yesterday, and then I went to play with other junk. So first thing I'm going to do is hook up the coolant hose in the back there before it's harder to access, before I get all this junk on here. So normally it's supposed to come out of that fitting in the back there and go up to the heater core, and then out of the heater core that little loop-de-loop goes back down in there. This guy right here goes back. And since the heater core is leaking, I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to use some regular old heater core. And this thing that I put on there, it's just a 5/8 to 3/4 adapter. So I'm just going to have it come out of there, go 5/8 to 5/8, and then a loop-de-loop around into that. Okay, so I decided to do a little bit different. I use the original hose that goes from the manifold to the heater core, and then I just put the coupler, and then this is going to go with a regular old piece of heater hose. It's going to go on back there, which I'm pretty sure you can't see, but trust me, there's a hose over here somewhere. Alright, that's pretty tidy. It's not touching anything. So that ought to work. Alright, so now that that's all hooked up, let's connect the injectors. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's see here. 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright. That's the fuel pressure sensor. That's hopeful. Alright, and then now we gotta put the coils in. Probably be the next smart thing to do. Put the coils in, which are in with wood screws, which is a little bit scary to me, but you know, whatever. That's how they do it these days. I'm just gonna put the factory coils back in. Worked before, pretty sure they'll still work. When threading a wood screw into a plastic manifold, or even wood for that matter, rotate it backwards and you kind of feel it rising up on the thread, and then it falls in, and then you can start turning it clockwise. Otherwise, you're going to make a new thread every time you thread it into the same hole. You're going to kind of mush a new thread into it. Alright, I guess we can put the fuel line on. And then the little clip, safety clip, in case you don't get it in all the way, which I'm pretty sure I did. Okay. And then just kind of step back and go, what possibly could I have forgotten? 19 millimeters, seems like a nice size. This has already got some schmutz on it to make it seal. So, just go with that. Okay, so that kind of reaches, okay. I'm going to pretend like somebody can see what I'm doing here, but I know you can't. There's a reason I have a screwdriver over here. Because this water pump just spins when you try to tighten the bolt up. So I'm just jamming a screwdriver in between two of the bolts so I can get some torque on it. Okay, alternator. About as simple as it gets. Now, the simpleness is disappearing because there's supposed to be a little bracket that goes on here like this to brace this to this, but I think this is off Thunderbird. That was in my bin O parts. Well, anyway, I just whittled up these guys. So, and evidently I whittled them up wrong. Because, no. Yes. So anyway, I may have to go make these slotted instead of, you know, I think it goes like that. I think it's going to go like that now. Maybe under there like that. Just go flex. Only in America. That looks fairly tidy. Just put the EGR tube back in. Which sounds, I know, it sounds like fun. If you want to do it, I'll let you. It goes something like you know, that there. I got that like there. So I'm gonna have to spend some time doing exciting work underneath the car. Okay, that was not bad. Actually, it was pretty easy to get on there. Let's take a little looky here. That goes. Yeah, so actually pretty good. Unbelievable. Okay. So I'm going to get this all bolted down and stuff. Okay, so I think that I got this all scienced out. There's these two hoses over here that go to the evap canister stuff. And I got that going into, I found this guy. One of my old boxes. I'm pretty sure that's a Ford part. So it's a reducer from 3/8 to 3/16 and then, or whatever millimeter that is. So anyway, this T came out of this shitty little kit. So that goes to there. I don't have a piece of 3/8 hose, so I'll have to get one. And then 3/8 hose from there to there. I got found another one, 90-degree jobber. So that goes to the EGR solenoid and the fuel pressure. So 3/8 hose from there to there. So then that'll be tidied up. And then I have this 3/8 hose here. So I guess I lied when I said I don't have 3/8 hose. I could steal that. But that needs to go into an adapter. It's 5/8. No idea why, but that's the vacuum source for the positive crankcase ventilation. PCV. And then idle air. Idle air is this hose going to the idle air valve. And then this is just a breather from the positive crankcase ventilation. It has to have a, it has to suck it out of the, like, it has to have a place to get air from, right? You're sucking air out of the engine. It's got to come from somewhere. Otherwise, you pull a vacuum and blow your seals inside out. So this is the supply hose for the positive crankcase stuff. So I think that's everything, except for the fact that there's no belt on it, and I got to put a new battery terminal on, and I got to flush the radiator, fill it with coolant, and the throttle cable brackets foobar. Okay, so worked a little bit more on this thing today. Some stuff I broke. Had to put the new clip on there. It's in the glove box. So, yeah, I got it, I think. Put a new doodad on there. And I got the new belt on there. It's quite a bit shorter than the original Supercharger belt. This hose doesn't fit very good, so it's kind of like it's not quite long enough. Maybe once it gets a few hot cycles on it, it'll be fine. I did give this thing a quick hose over, which of course these things, they fill the... When I first started up, it was idling beautiful, but then I squirted it off and probably filled up the spark plug hole with water, so that's happened. So now it's hot. I let the fan cycle once until it got hot and then cycled, turned back off. I cobbled up a hose here for PCV system, so there's that. And then I got this T, I got some hose for this, so that's all scienced out. So everything looks pretty tidy. I got these fixed. Actually, Diego fixed them, but got that bolted on. And it turns out the throttle cable bracket, if you put it on upside down, yeah, it doesn't work. So I put it on right side up, and it's fine now. It's perfecto. So that's nice. I'm not sure what this ground wire does. I think on the stock vehicles it goes to here, but unless they're trying to ground the fuel rail on this side only, I'm not sure what it does, so I'll have to do some investigating on whether that needs to get grounded to there, because there's no ground path through the plastic manifold. So yeah, but some of the early models have that because it does have a metal manifold and there's a ground through it, so I'll have to double check that. I only have water in it right now. I kind of did a radiator flush, so I'm going to put some new coolant in it, but I haven't done that yet. I just wanted to fill it, drain it a couple times just to get the old antifreeze out of there, so that's good. Yeah, that's kind of about it. I'm just going to give this thing, it's sitting in the redwood, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a cleaner upper. I mean, I hosed it off, but it's still pretty rough. It needs a real wash job. Probably it's got 3 pounds of air in all the tires, so I'll have to fix that up. And then I was planning on pulling the booster pump out of the trunk. Show you what that looks like. So it was bolted to the side of this thingy here. There's a couple, yeah, there's like a hole here and down there. Anyway, it looks like this. So that won't do anything anymore, so I'll have to like unsolder those wires and shrink them back together and whatnot, and vacuum all this out. It's kind of a mess, but it's 20 years old, so you know. And then I got all these nice scratches from the stupid wild turkeys that run around here. That's what you get for living in the wilderness, but all over the doors as well. I'll give it a little bit of a buffing maybe, but not gonna spend too much time. It's not worth much, so it's a shame. It's a pretty good car, and it served me well. So anyway, if you're in the market for a 2001 True Blue Mustang with a built motor, built. Obviously it's stock now, but it does have Manley rods and JE pistons in it. They've been in there since 2012 probably, 130-ish thousand miles on them. But it's always, you know, run well and pass smog, doesn't use any oil. So should be even more reliable with the stock intake manifold on it now. So anyway, we'll get the interior vacuumed out too, because it's got, you know, redwood to use every time you get in it. You get redwood schmutz everywhere. So anyway, if you have any questions about it, just shoot me a message in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you like this content and want more, subscribe, like, and share.